Okay. And it looks like we are live. Let me refresh the Twitch window just a few times. Confirm that everything is working well. Yeah, it looks like this is all working, and you can hear me okay?
Yep, I can hear you fine.
All right, perfect. Well, it's great to see you, Daniel.
Likewise.
And for everybody who just joined us, thank you very much again for tuning in and joining our weekly episode on how to build custom application without writing any code in Amazon Honeycode. So this week we are on episode 5 of our ongoing series on how to augment data in Honeycode, and very excited for today's topic. This is a big one. I know it brings together a lot of the concept that we have covered so far. So I'm so glad that we've gotten to this point. Just for everybody who's joining, just wanted to quick reminder on what we've covered so far. We started the series with Daniel showing us how to display white tables in narrow applications. We then had a follow-on episode on how to edit records in bulk and how to do inline editing. Then the following week, Daniel, you showed us how to display context while making edits to specific records. And then last week, we covered how to import and export data in Honeycode. And so, again, this week, we'll talk about how to do approvals and then manage data across multiple teams. A couple of just logistical details. We're going to do our best to keep up with chat, and I'll try to go back and forth and try to grab any questions that are submitted, but we'll for sure look at the full chat at the end just to make sure that we answer any questions. And then we wanted to also share with you the link to this entire workshop series. So if you go to our Honeycode community forums, you can see the details of every single one of our episodes, linked to the previous recordings. And then there's a comment section at the bottom where we're really encouraging everyone to submit any further questions, comments, and of course, suggestions for a future topic. We really want to crowdsource this agenda for topics we discussed in this series. So please join our community forums and then share your feedback. That way, we'll make sure that we produce episodes that are aligned with what you're looking for. So with all of that said, Daniel, just really want to now turn it over to you for this one of this culmination in our series.
Yeah, I'm excited. This is good. So yeah, we're going to bring a bunch of these things together. You're going to see a lot of the same patterns that we've done before. You're going to see twists and changes and modifications to them, and even how to manage multiple teams, a very basic way to manage multiple teams within Honeycode. But first, remember the scenario here is that you, the user of Honeycode, just got blessed with the managing all the data for a music store. And that sounds great for you because now you have your budget, your team, and you can implement all these great ideas you have. However, some things you find out are not so easy, right? Because the data is a bit messy. You have to wait for IT forever, and you get slotted in 6 months from now to get your work done, and that's not ideal because in the meantime, everything is getting done via emails and spreadsheets, and just people spending a lot of time and asking like, where was the sheet from last week, etc. That never happens to anybody I know. It's just such a unique problem. No, I'm joking, but we see it in program management and HR and all kinds of areas where you have to wherever you have collaboration, we see this problem, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And so we've picked on you. We've called you Susan or Johnny or whatever your name is, but essentially you plus Honeycode we believe has the capability to do quite a lot to manage, to create, and to support a collaborative workflow. And here we're calling it metadata because we're talking about lots of data, bulk data, lots and lots of data. And so today we're going to talk about approvals and how do you get approval from multiple teams. Okay, so in this particular scenario, we're going to have 4 different teams. You're the producer, so you're in the producer team because you're responsible for producing the whole thing. But you do need to get approval from legal, marketing, and creative, right? So you work with 3 other teams besides your own. And in these teams, you can have multiple users in each team, and you don't want to. You don't want to have a water flow approval like team A, team B, team C. You just want to shoot it out there and say, everybody, please approve to make it go faster. So that's kind of the scenario that we're setting up. Make sense?
Makes sense.
So let's jump over and see what this looks like. Since it's only me demoing, next time we'll have to get Amari to log in as well, and we'll switch screens and we'll have all kinds of fun. But so let's go back to our familiar albums here. If you'll remember, we have 4 albums, and all of a sudden we notice that now there's tasks, and these are approval tasks. Maybe we should call them that. And if I have 20 rows and I have 4 teams, you would imagine there'd be 80 tasks. Pretty much math makes sense. Here, some of them are already approved, so that's why it shows less than 48. And here 6 times 4 is 24. If my math is still correct, we do have to get a math fact in here every week, don't we?
Math in public is never a good idea.
No, you don't recommend it.
So you're okay, Daniel. You're okay.
Okay. Just multiplication tables today. That's all. I promise I won't bring square roots into it. Okay, so let's say we go here to Biscuits in the Oven, this album. And we've added a few things since last time. This should look somewhat familiar because you'll see the tabs, right? This was the tabs that we talked about in the first week. We've added this tasks tab, right? I notice all these are pending assignment. We've also added these statuses here at the top, and we'll show you how that happens in a bit. But for now, let's pretend that I am a producer. And I'm going to switch through the different roles for producer, legal, marketing, creative, and see if we can get something approved to have zero tasks pending here.
Great.
So, oh wait, I can't quite approve yet because I'm not happy with how this content is. So name, yes, the name is good. The rate, there's no rating, so I can't send it for approval. So let's just say that these are all for everyone, and let's make the language what? English. For standard, obviously we can make this a drop down too, but for the sake of argument. Okay, so now that kind of looks good. All the 6, all the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tracks. So I have 5 tracks in the album record. Okay, good thing it's for everyone because it is Baby Beluga. If Baby Beluga is not good for everyone,
then what is? Of course.
Right. Okay, so we have no synopsis. Okay, so we got to add some synopsis here. I'm just going to cheat a little bit and say basic synopsis. Not type, you're looking at me. Stop looking at me. And then obviously
no math, no typing for you today.
Yeah, it's just really hurting today. But let's say you come here, right? I mean, obviously, this is where the genius comes in, right? Somebody that's a producer knows what these should be. I'm making it up. 4, and this is sort of overall. Okay, so you can do bulk and individual edits, and boom, you're done there. So we're happy with synopsis. We need some artists. Let's do the artists, and let's say artist is Baby. Let's call actually, I'm going to make artist Abby. This is my niece, and she loves this. She loves Baby Beluga.
Great.
And then, but for producers, it's going to be Amari.
I like it.
Exactly, already. And we're also going to add Daniel because we're producing this.
Nice.
Oh, whoopsie daisy, that's not good. I misspelled my own name. How's that possible? That's how we do that. I'm really suffering today, aren't I? Okay, so now we're all good here. Right, all the content is good. Now, as a production person, I would like to, not pending assignment anymore, I would like to approve that, yes, I'm good to go. So I can approve these one by one, or I can just mark them complete all in bulk.
Nice.
So you'll remember this pattern, right? We did this pattern before, right?
Absolutely.
But now notice that I cannot approve or change the legal one.
Right, sure.
So
It's nice to see too that the production indicator under production at the top just switched to green right away. It was a nice.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
all the tasks went away, right? So all
Right.
the tasks were completed, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a table that we have here that manages so in the tables view here, we have teams now. So we created teams. We have legal, marketing, creative, production.
Right.
We have the number of people assigned to each team. And then we have a table where we actually make those assignments. So this is how you can manage teams inside your organization, or your app, I should say. So I'm just going to add myself to all the other three and take myself away from production. Actually, I don't need this row, right? So I used to be in production, but I'm no longer in production. I got fired. But I moved to legal. I moved to marketing. And let's not.
That's exactly where we want people who get fired to end up, in the legal department. That's a good idea.
Wait, I think there could be some problems there. I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay. So now, if I do edit, notice that producer no longer is editable.
Absolutely.
However, if I go out of edit, I can still see the content.
And that's another really powerful feature, the fact that any change that you make is instantly live for all of your users. So you didn't have to log out and log back into Honeycode. The fact that you change the team that you belong to in the tables right away was reflected in the applications.
Exactly. Not the data and the changes, boom.
Right.
So yeah, notice that we're good here, right? So now I can do this bulk approval, and obviously I can come back and say, oh yeah. If I look at the synopsis here, I might not want to approve track 3 and track 4. So I'm going to go back here and say, yeah, for all those tracks, for anything but the album, it's not good enough. So, marketing is not happy with it.
Sure.
And so they're going to come back and say, not happy. Then obviously we probably should put a thumbs down button here, because if we have a thumbs up, we should have a thumbs down. And so there, we cannot approve. And also maybe part of the workflow, and this is where I put the pencil here, we can talk about comments, right? Because it's not like you cannot approve it. It has to go through the approval process, but you may want to have a conversation about this particular row and see, why does marketing not think it's ready to go?
It's a great point. Yeah, pass on additional feedback.
Right, and so that's how you can have a conversation within the same app through these comments, and maybe that we can do a video on that at some point. Yeah. But so now the only problem is I'm part of Creative, but I don't have the bulk button here, and so I can do this manually. But you know me, I'm not going to be happy with that. So I'm going to show you how to add that button.
Great.
So very easy. I left it out on purpose, actually. Haha. But and I will show you in a minute. So these buttons are the thumbs up buttons have a very specific display. They only show if the edit is on, and if me, the current user, the sys user, is logged in. Sorry, the current user that's logged in is part of the legal team.
Sure.
And then here, if they're part of the marketing team. That's it. It's as simple as that. To make these buttons appear based on team, on who's in the team. So I'm just going to cheat even farther and copy paste and say here if they're not part of marketing, but if they're part of creative. Oops. So if they're part of the creative team, so is the edit on, yes or no? And is the current user part of the creative team, yes or no? And then we need to do the action also. So not just visibility, but the action has to be modified. So this action, all it does, seems a little complex, but it looks through all the approval records currently. So all the approvals that are assigned to this particular current title. So all the approval tasks. And then it does an upsert or an update or insert, but in most cases it's just an update. Should already be an update there. So it matches if the record ID matches with the current record ID, and then it just updates the record, the album ID. And then here's the magic. It updates the marketing status. In our case, it's going to be now the creative status.
Creative status,
right?
Sure.
Because we're in the creative column.
Yeah.
We're going to just update it with the word, with a row link for approved, right? We could just say equals to approved, but we're having to go find the row link because it's an actually row link in the table. And I'll show you that in a second.
Makes sense.
So here, so now, if I go to creative, I have a thumbs up button, and I can approve that, and I can approve that. And this particular record now is fully approved. And let's
all
go
greens.
back. All greens. Oh, look at that on the home page.
Oh.
Finally, something completely done. Don't you like to have a checklist that gets completely done at some point, has zero
Especially
problems?
on a Wednesday. Doesn't happen on a Wednesday.
That's a good one. Exactly. Usually it's on Saturday that it. Yeah. All right. So that's how we do that. Let me show you a little bit of the guts and glory here. Let's start with the table, because that's where we always start with the tables. So we already covered the teams and the team members. The team, very straightforward table with a simple filter to show all the members, just for because we can do it. The team members is a very simple assignment between a contact and a team. So both of them pick lists. The other thing that has changed here, we added a new approvals table and an approval states. So approvals table looks very similar to the credits and the other tables that we had so far. You have the record and the album reference, and then you have the status of each of the 4 teams. That's it. So now I cheated a little bit. Obviously, notice that these are in black because I'm adding them from automation. So I could be a little bit better when I could use a find row instead of just putting in the word pending assignment. So I probably should be better about that in my automation, but so far it doesn't hurt anything. And then all the automations I use when I press on buttons, they are properly marking these things as approved. So, and if you had more teams, let's say you had 7 teams, you could do the same thing here. And I'll show you a pattern of what happens if you have too many teams, or another way to do this. But usually 2-3 teams is enough. And so this pattern works really, really well. And it also keeps your number of rows small. You don't have to get extra rows.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, and then the statuses table is very straightforward. It's pending, approved, complete. I was going to add this column here for filter to say, only show, various choices here to everybody. And these may also only be for production team, or the manager, the data manager on the production team. So maybe these are only for production team to see, or something like that. You could do other pretty filters so the drop downs can be cleaner. And that's it. So these are linked to the record. So this is the original record here. And it's also linked to the title. The title of the album. And what we did in the album, we had total rows before, but we added these totals here. So all these totals, all they do is they look up in the approvals table. If you look here, they look in the approvals table for the current album ID, and to make sure that the legal status is different than the word approved. And then it counts the rows. So that's basically it. Rows counts all the rows that the filter brings back. And anything that's not approved gets marked here. And so these are the fields that we then go ahead and show in the oops, sorry, let me go back here. So if I go back in the app, on the album detail at the top, remember we had these production, legal, marketing, creative. And all we simply do here is we show creative, how many pending tasks are for creative, how many pending tasks are for marketing, how many pending tasks for legal, right? So that gives us this nice little top row here.
Makes sense.
And just because we like to see things pretty, we've added this
conditional formatting.
Right? So if it's yellow, if there's anything pending, if pending is greater than 0, then show it yellow. If pending is less than 1, aka 0, then show it as green. So that's how we do the top part. And then the bottom part here, where you actually have to do the approval, it's these two. There's these two blocks. So there's a static block that all it does is has the various labels inside of it and the various buttons. So there's no data in here. And then there's the list record below, which shows the actual rows. So remember from previous that the source for this is pretty important. That this the source here is pretty key. So the source for this row is show me all the records for the current title. Right, so this is going to show us all the currents for the record title, and that's exactly what we did before when we show artists, for example. When we show artists and producer, it's the exact same source. Right, so that's how we keep them consistent from tab to tab. And then inside here, this is just a regular type for that particular record, but these are a little trickier. So these are actually looking at the approval status of this particular record. So it's saying, go into the approvals table, look for something that matches this record ID, or essentially the record we're looking at. And if it's equal to this row, and bring us back the production status, thank you. And it looks back into, and says, bring us the legal status, bring us the marketing status at the individual record level, not at the album, not the summary one that we showed up above. This is at the record level. So remember, we have so we have here, we have records, and there's 41 records, and there should also be 41 approval rows with 4 tasks each. So essentially, it's a one-to-one mapping between approvals and records, right? Albums, there's only 4 of them, so that's fewer. Okay.
Yep.
And then I also put here the exact same thing again, but in this the bottom sets are editable. So everybody's seeing this in the inline edit. So there's should be nothing new here. And because they're shared, right? Because they're shared already, they automatically get updated in the table. I don't have to do anything. I don't have to write a special convoluted action or anything like that to write them in. They're shared, boom, done.
Totally live. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. And so the simple visibility here is show these cells. The top cells are visible for everybody when we're not in edit mode. Right. The bottom cells I only want to show when, yes, we are in edit mode, like I've shown this before, and the user is in the correct team, in production team, or in the legal team, or in the marketing team, or in the creative team. So that's how you show. That's how the edit is only appearing for that team. And same with these buttons here. So these buttons only show up if you're in the legal team, if you're in the marketing team, or in the creative team. And same with this button in production, in the production team.
This is great. I really liked it too when you showed it earlier. Just a simple copy paste of the button, change one word, and then you replicate the function, that exact same function for a different team.
I love cheating like that. So that was a good cheat, right?
It's great.
Yeah. So this button here is the one that does all the heavy lifting, and obviously it has to go through a set of rows. So it has to iterate through a bunch of rows. And so we're looking for all the rows from the approvals table that are associated with this current title, because we're going to do bulk approval of everything. And we are going to match based on record ID. And then we're going to update record ID, album ID, and we're only going to update one field at a time. For any given record, we only update one at a time. We could also create a button here that says approve all. So maybe for the producers, he has some sort of override or approve all or disapprove all, where you would have 4 of these, 1, 2, 3, 4, and you would either set them to blank or set them to approved right from here. So you could have some sort of a big button like that too. And that's about it.
This is fantastic, Daniel. Thanks very much for walking us through all of this and these very helpful, like super elegant and simple, and yet really powerful patterns. This has been really great. Anything else to add then before we disconnect?
Yeah, I almost forgot one thing. Thank you for. Oh, look, we got two things done now. Man, we're getting stuff done today. I forgot one thing to add here is that we did make a change to the automation that we have. So it's a good thing to touch back on this. So whenever we do an upload into the uploads table, it automatically adds the albums, as we've seen before. It automatically adds the records and the credits tables. And we've added one to add to the approvals table. So essentially, this particular automation ensures that whenever we get a bunch of records in, the albums, the records, the credits, and the approvals are all kept in sync. And so records, credits, and approvals are one-to-one. They're just three tables with the same number of rows.
Makes sense.
Albums, obviously, is kind of a shorter summarized. It's only the albums in there. But this is pretty simple. So the pattern is very much similar to the other ones. But we are going to match, because it's an upsert. So we're going to match if record ID equals to the record ID if this already exists in the records table. And then we're going to update the album ID and the record ID with row links here. That's why there's find row here, because we want to update with row links, not just put the literal in place. And then this is where I do the cheat I showed you, right? Because it shows pending approval instead of pending approval in blue.
Yeah,
I should really do a find row in here, but I just basically put pending approval all the way down, and that's it. And so now let's see. Now that we're all very, very happy with ourselves, right? That we have all these things finished. Let's see if we do an upload. What happens if we do a new upload? So we're going to import into this table some modify data. Okay, fine. It's not very happy that I'm here. It wants me to go here. So I need to be looking at the table. Okay, so import into this table. Modify data. Yes. And then voila. You will see here in a minute. So this is successful. But what really happens to us is that all of a sudden, when this runs, oh my gosh, we have work again.
No. I wish we hadn't gotten there. We should have cut off before we added more tasks.
Right. Yes, true. But it does prove the point that you can bring in, and I need to look up why this is 40 and not 48. So I need to double check that. Perhaps, yeah, it is 48. Okay, it just takes a while to update. Phew. It's not broken, Dana. And so, yeah, this is if you get a fresh set of updates, now you can go back and approve those. So that's it.
Oh, this was awesome. And then I'm just checking the chat here. It doesn't look like there were any specific questions on this topic. So for everyone who may be tuned in, maybe watching this live or watching it at a later time, you can go to this page on the Honeycode Community Forum and ask any follow-ups, make any comments or any suggestions for future topics. This is how we'll continue to keep this series going. Sorry, go ahead, Daniel.
We're also going to update the links to these videos on that forum page. So
that's right. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yep. That's a good call out on this one. Awesome. Well, Daniel, thank you very much. As always, great to see you. And thanks for everyone for tuning in. We'll see you next week.
Loved it. Thank you.